This video is about plotting two data sets in one graph with Google Sheets. By the end of this video, you should be able to identify the standard that Google Sheets uses for independent and dependent variables. Format and label the sheet correctly so that two sets of data can be plotted on one graph. Create a labeled graph with two data sets showing. And finally, adding equations for the trend lines and adding these to the graph. I'm going to use as an example today data from our toy car lab. I've got time and position data plotted out for two toy cars. There's a couple of important things to note. One is that I've got the headers in row 1 of time, position, and then in column C another position set. And notice I've made these bold. When I pull up a chart, it'll automatically include these titles and the proper graph title as well if I have these labels in bold. All right, so the standard for Google Sheets is that it's going to assume anything in column A is going to be the independent variable. It's going to be plotted on the horizontal or x-axis. In the next column, B, C, etc., are always going to be the dependent variable. And so here we have not one column of dependent variables, but for two, for our two toy cars. So this set involves one toy car, and then the bottom set involves the second toy car. So here we have the times in seconds, and now I've skipped column B and have written in column C the position data for the times involved with the second toy car. All right, I'm also going to neaten up the appearance of my data by centering the data. So I'm going to highlight, and then I'm going to go over where I can align into the center. Okay, I'm going to center all of my data in the columns. Now I'm going to insert a chart. I'm going to select all the data I want in one chart. And go to Insert Chart. You could either do it here or else up in this menu here. Okay, if it's showing here, I just click on it. And I'm going to select Chart Type and Scatter, like we've done in the past. Okay, now I could just check. I've got all my labels already. I think it's because I had the top labels in the data tables in bold. So it's automatically put my proper title, and it's given a key for the blue is the first data set because we went out to 10 seconds, and the red is for the bottom data set because we only went out 8 seconds on that. So I could either say insert and then go to advanced edit, but I could also add the equation for the trend line here because we could see it's linear. So we're going to do that now. And if you need to add any changes to the titles, etc., you would do that here. But everything is properly labeled right now. I don't have to change it. Okay, so we're going to look at the blue series first, and we're going to want to add a trend line and linear. And as soon as we click on that, then we get the option of showing the R-squared values and having a label with the equation put there. Okay, now we're going to do that for the other data set, plotted in red here. Okay, now we're going to also do a linear trend line for the second data set. So we select at series, click on it, and select the other one. And we want to also include a trend line and its label. Okay, now click Insert. And here's where you could save the image. which will download. And you can click that over to your O drive. But anything here will automatically be saved in your Google Drive in this Google Sheet. Okay, here's the chart with the equations of the two lines and nicely labeled. We could understand that red is for here and blue is for down here. And it's very scrunchy here, so I'd like you to maybe get in the habit of going to Advanced Edit and moving this graph to its own sheet, and we'll see a much better copy of this. Okay, the graph that was moved to its own sheet, and here we could better see the equations of the line, and notice that here is the slope times x and the y-intercept for the blue, and here is the slope and the y-intercept for the red. All right, so we have learned how to properly format our Google Sheet for two data sets and to graph those two data sets on one graph, to add trend lines and make sure everything's properly labeled, and to add the equation of the trend line to your graph as well, and to move it over to its own sheet and then to save the image.